The Travel Transformation Podcast is proud to be partnered with Give the Goodness Global, an amazing global outreach project helping families in need all over Southeast Asia and beyond. Please check them out at Instagram.com/Give the Goodness Global today. And now on to the podcast episode.
Welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast, the podcast that explores the life-changing potential of solo travel, intentional travel, and location-independent working. Whether you're an aspiring digital nomad or simply want to boost your confidence through epic travel experiences, I'm here to motivate and inspire you to go after all your wildest dreams. I'm Jessica Grace Coleman, author, travel transformation coach, founder of the Travel Transformation Company, and your host for the Travel Transformation Podcast. Travel changed my life. Now let's change yours. You ready? Let's go. Welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast, the podcast where we talk all things travel and all things transformation. My name is Jessica Grace Coleman and I'm your host. And today I'm talking to fellow travel coach and member of the Travel Coach Network, Kuba Neuman. Originally from the Czech Republic, Kuba has worked and lived all over the world, going on such amazing adventures as sailing the high seas with no experience, travelling around New Zealand and Australia in a van, getting stuck in Panama when COVID first hit, and living with Indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest. With his new business, Bohemian Adventure, Kuba is committed to helping first-time solo travellers and people looking to relocate to another country. In this episode, we discuss working holiday visas, van life, the Kingdom of Bohemia, boat hitchhiking, which I did not know was a thing, and much, much more. I really enjoyed this conversation, so let's get straight to the interview. Hi, Kuba. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's great to have you. Okay, so to begin with, can you please give me and our listeners a bit of background information about you, where you're from originally, where you are right now, if that's different, and what you do for a living?
So originally I'm from Czech Republic. Right now I'm in Czech Republic after almost 3 years. So it's exciting. I just arrived last week, so settling. What I do for a living. So I studied geology. I got a master in geology and I worked as a geologist right after the university for 1 year. Then I started to travel and I started to move around. So last decade, let's say, I've been working mostly as a landscaper, gardener. I did tree planting in Scotland. I did some construction work. Yeah, so a lot of sailing as well. Pretty much works, what I found on the way and on the road and many different jobs. And now lately, I'm focusing mostly on travel coaching.
Yeah, great. So, you mentioned that it's been 3 years since you've been in the Czech Republic. You haven't been back in those 3 years, or?
Yeah, no, in the last 3 years, I haven't been back at all. Yeah, it was probably the longest time. Otherwise, I try to go every year, a couple of years, to spend Christmas or summer holidays. But yeah, this last 3 years, it was difficult as well because of COVID, and all the situations.
Yeah, definitely. Was it strange going back after 3 years? Because I've been away for like a year from my home, but like not as long as 3 years. I can imagine it's sort of familiar, but also very strange.
Yeah, it's a little bit emotional for sure, but I got good friends here. I always keep in touch with people in here. And honestly, it's not such a big difference. The main difference, what I can see that a lot of my friends have kids now. So I can see like the kids are growing, very fast. But otherwise, the rest of things, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, very similar.
Nice.
Feels good.
Good. Okay, So you mentioned there travel coaching that you're getting into, and your new venture is called Bohemian Adventure. So can you tell me a bit more about this, about what you offer, why you started it, and is there a reason behind the name?
So the name, how it started, Bohemian Adventure, it started as a travel blog, let's say Facebook page, because for the years, the friends always ask me, hey, where are you? What are you doing? Send me some pictures. So I decided to start a Facebook page where I was posting about my travels, posting some pictures. So it was easier for me and easier for them as well to follow. And over the years, it evolved in this travel coaching business. And the name is, so Czech Republic used to be Kingdom of Bohemia in medieval times. So the name comes from there because, I'm from Bohemia, so Bohemian Adventure. And my main focus in travel coaching is solo travelers or first time long-term travelers. So to help them in a practical way, in a way how to deal with the visa situation, about flight tickets, accommodation, all this stuff, but as well in a more like in personal or let's say emotional way. If someone feels like they would like to go for, it can be 3 months or 6 months or even 1 year travel, but they never done it before. So they're not really sure how to approach it. And maybe they feel a little bit stuck in some ways. Yeah, that's one side. And the other side is helping expats to settle down in the new places because I've been living in different countries, always facing the challenges, how to find a job, how to find accommodation, how to engage with the local community. So that's the other side of the business. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, the Kingdom of Bohemia is the best name for any country ever, I think. That's such a cool name. And so I love that you took that and put it in your business name. And yeah, I like to help people with the practicalities and also the mindset, because the mindset is such a huge thing, as it is with anything in life. It can be very daunting to think, I want to go away for 6 or 12 months, but I've never done anything like it. And a lot of people plan it and book everything and then back out at the last second because it's just too overwhelming and too daunting. So to have someone like guiding you through that, I think, is such a useful service to provide. So that's great. So we know of each other through the Travel Coach Network. How did you find out about the TCN and what made you want to sign up to be a travel coach? Because when I did it, I didn't even know travel coaching was a thing. And I was like, oh, this sounds really cool. This sounds like right up my alley. So was it an easy decision for you to make?
Yeah, when I found out about it, it was very easy decision, but I was in the same situation. I didn't know it's the thing, and so I was very, very happy to I came across Sarah and all the Travel Coach Network. And it was last year in October. I was in Thailand and I was waiting for my visa to Australia to get approved because I was trying to settle down in Australia. So I was waiting for a new work permit and I had to wait offshore. So I was in Thailand and unfortunately the visa didn't get approved. It was declined. So I was in Thailand and I was thinking, well, I need to make a plan B, right? Now the Australia situation is getting a bit more difficult. So I was just thinking, doing a lot of research and a lot of thinking and talking to a lot of people, even like reach out online, in different Facebook groups. And everyone told me, just do what you like to do. What's your passion? I was like, well, I like traveling, what I've been doing for many years and what I really enjoy to talk with people about travels, to meet new people and to share stories and stuff. So I was thinking, well, let's try to find something in travel industry. So I was thinking maybe a travel agent. So I did like all the research, listening podcasts for like a week straight. And then randomly I found like Sahara's post in some digital nomad group on Facebook. And she mentioned, oh, I got this travel coaching business and stuff. It's like, wow, that's interesting. I never heard about travel coaching. So I went deeper into it and it was like, wow, that's it. I really like the idea behind it. And I realized I actually doing it without, knowing that it's like travel coaching, because many times you just have these conversations in hostels or wherever with the friends and they ask you, hey, so how you do this and how you find a job, how you manage to move around. And since I found out about the program and about the Travel Coach Network, I signed up in next week. It was a very easy decision to make.
Nice. Yes. I think you made a good point there that a lot of people in the TCN community maybe have been doing elements of travel coaching without even realizing it. Like you said, they didn't know there was a term for it. It's still quite a new-ish term. And yeah, already doing it. And then they found that it's an actual thing. And they're like, oh my God, like I could actually do this for a living. So that's really cool. So you've mentioned that you've done a lot of traveling. So when and where did your nomadic journey start? And why did you want to travel so much in the first place?
First time when I moved abroad, it was when I was at the university. So I did an exchange program called Erasmus, which is for European students. So I studied 6 months in Spain and I just loved it. I love to be in a different culture, try different food, learning new language, meeting new people, living close to the beach in a beautiful climate. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And after that, I did one more Erasmus, which was like an internship in the company. It was in Canary Islands again, in Spain. And yeah, I always had this dream to go to New Zealand. So after this, I started to save some money and I applied for working holiday visa in New Zealand. And I was, I think, 25 or 26 years old when I left there. And since then, things were just happening. And since then, I was moving around with different visas, different countries, doing different jobs.
Nice. You mentioned the working holiday visa then. What was that like for you? Did you find it easy to get work when you were out there, or for people who might not be aware of it?
So working holiday visa is a visa which is initially for 1 year usually, and it gives you rights to stay in the country for 1 year and to work in the country. So it's not limited with the work, so you can do any work you find, and it's very convenient and very pretty easy to find a job, to be honest, because in countries like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, big countries, usually there is a work shortage. So if you're not afraid to work in let's say fruit picking or seasonal jobs, very easy. Hospitality, very easy to find jobs as well, like housekeeping. But I know people, they found like even qualified jobs, like some office jobs or whatever you would like to do. It's doable with this kind of visa.
Yeah, definitely. My friend who I'm traveling with at the moment, she did the working holiday visa in New Zealand, and she did sheep shearing by day and then bartending by night. So two very different types of jobs. But she loved it. Yeah. So I'd highly recommend it for anyone who is thinking about doing it. You've also lived and worked, is it on 3 different continents?
Yeah, right.
So where else have you sort of lived and worked?
First was Spain, when I spent in over a year and a half. Then New Zealand, or maybe I think it was around 3 years, because after my working holiday visa finished, so I found a stable job for a landscaping company, and I applied with them for work permits. So through work permits, I could stay a couple of years more. And then the last long-term stay in Canada, I stayed in Australia with working holiday visa. Mostly thanks to this working holiday visa, it gave me opportunity to make money on the road and enjoy the country and see the country. And
Wow, whereabouts Canada were you?
I was on the West Coast, mostly British Columbia.
I really want to go there. I've not been there, so that's on my list, definitely. It looks beautiful. Okay, so I have to ask about your time spent in the Amazon rainforest, where you lived with indigenous people. So when was this? How did it come about? And what was the experience like for you?
So it was in first time I was there 2019, I think. It was first time I arrived to Amazon rain for Colombia, and I did some volunteering work there for a tourist agency. So with the local guys, we've been taking tourists for the tours, and I've been translating from them from Spanish to English. So I spent like a month there, and after that, I took a boat on the Amazon River for like 3 days. I arrived to Peru. Like all the purpose of this journey was to find a local healer, or let's say shaman, who works with the plant medicine, and which I found in the end, close to Iquitos, like a couple of hours from Iquitos. And I managed to stay with him for a couple of months, working with the plants and like living with his family and living on the land. So it's not like super deep rainforest, but it's still, village in the rainforest, a few hours from the city. And they all have Facebook. They all like to be connected. Like everywhere in the Amazon is Facebook now. And the first thing
Really?
people ask you, yeah, do you have Facebook? Have you seen this? So it's kind of funny, but how they live, it's still very connected to the land, very connected to the seasons, very connected to the jungle and the river, like fishing, hunting. And yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So I'm guessing you learned quite a lot about plant medicine and that kind of stuff when you were staying with him.
So I was there a couple of months in 2019, and then last year I was there 3 months again, just staying with the family again and going a little bit deeper in the understanding of the plants and everything.
Wow, that's amazing. So when you go to these places, do you have any kind of culture shock, as we call it? Or have you ever experienced a situation that's just so far removed from what you're used to that it takes a while to get used to? Or how do you deal with that? Are you quite adaptable, do you think?
I would say I'm kind of adaptable because since I was a teenager, I used to go camping a lot, or we did like a lot of hiking trips with my friends just around Czech Republic that we just went for 3-4 days with our backpacks and just camp in the countryside. So cooked on the fire and stuff like this. So it kind of helps, I guess. But yeah, there is definitely, then you start to appreciate small things, like if you don't have a shower for 3 months because there is just no shower, there is just the river, right? So then you kind of appreciate to have a shower, and yeah, and it's interesting to see, and it really teach you in a way how complicated our life is in the modern society, because with all these technologies, we're really depending on it. But on the other hand, it's like, oh, wow, it's really nice to have a hot shower and don't be bothered by mosquitoes for a while, and stuff like this.
Oh yeah, I would definitely need a hot shower after 3 months. Just having a river, definitely. But yeah, like you say, it makes you think about how we all rely on technology and that kind of stuff. But when I'm traveling, it makes me think about how much little stuff I actually need. Like I travel with quite a large suitcase, but like everything I need basically for work, for everything traveling is in that suitcase. And it makes me think like I don't need as much stuff as I think I need. And whenever I move house, I accumulate so much stuff and I have to get rid of it again when I move again. And I'm just like, travel teaches you that you really don't need that much. So I think I like that aspect of it, definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's right.
Yeah. So I also want to ask about your sailing, which I believe you've done across the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. And I believe you didn't have any experience to start with. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So with no experience, so yeah, what made you want to do this and how did it come about?
Well, the first time I heard about hitchhiking sailing boats, it was in Canary Islands. Like there, I met some people in Marina, like travelers, and they're like, "Oh, we're just waiting for the boat. We want to cross the Atlantic Ocean." Like what? Like what do you mean cross the Atlantic Ocean? Oh, you just go to the marina and talk to the people, and if you're lucky, you find a boat and they take you. It's like wow, that's amazing, you know. I never heard about it before, and it kind of stayed with me for a few years. I did different stuff. I forgot about it, and it started to come back. And I was in New Zealand, and yeah, I just felt it's something what I would like to do. What I would like to experience. How is the life on the ocean? Because I read a couple of books about it. I was really Captain James Cook and all this exploration was very what I was always dreaming about, to arrive to the islands in the middle of the ocean and just to see the island, you know, and the people there. So yeah, it was the desire for the adventure, definitely. And the trip we took from New Zealand, and it was actually to Canada, to Vancouver. So we sailed from New Zealand to Tahiti, Hawaii, Vancouver. Yeah. I was very lucky that with the skipper, I had a great skipper. We still in touch. He's an older guy. Last year he was 80 years old. He was 75.
Wow.
I was like there. But very experienced sailor and very great story, great adventure.
That's incredible. I didn't know that boat hitchhiking was a thing. Like until I read it in your bio and I was like, what? Is that the right word? Like that's so cool. So is that still a thing? Is that something someone could do? They could literally go to a marina, start talking to someone with a boat and ask if they can join them? Like, is it that easy? Did you find it an easy thing to ask, or how does that whole conversation go?
Yeah, well, you need to do a little bit of research, right? Before, so I did my research. You need to know the seasons because every ocean has a different season to sail. So you need to know the seasons. You need to know roughly where the main marinas are, because some marinas have their facilities, you know, and the boats hang out there. That's to start with. Yeah, then I just made like a small flyers and I just like stick it around marina. Hey, I'm looking for a sailing boat. I would like to sail to Polynesia. This is my phone number. And yeah, in a couple of days, I had like 3 people talk to me about that they're doing the trip and they're looking for more crew. So that was the first time. And then the second time for Atlantic crossing, it was easier because I already had the experience. So I found the boat in a Facebook group. So there are Facebook groups as well. Let's say Atlantic Crossing 2023, you know, Pacific Crossing 2023. And people are looking for a crew there as well. Yeah, obviously it was easier for me because I already had the experience. So thanks to this experience, I found the boat online already. So I knew, yeah.
I just want to interrupt this awesome podcast episode for a moment to tell you about Write Your Life, the ultimate life hack for achieving your dreams by Jessica Grace Coleman, a book that teaches you how to design your dream life and then go live it. Life is what you make it. Life is what you write it to be. And you can write whatever you want. Let me show you how. The Write Your Life method gives you all the tools and techniques you need to identify your ambitions, plan your goals, and ultimately achieve all your wildest dreams, all while having fun and getting creative. And you don't need to be a writer to benefit from the Write Your Life method. This book can help anyone, anywhere design their ultimate dream lifestyle. Get it now from Amazon or head to www.traveltransformationcoach.com/books. You'll also get a digital copy completely free when you sign up to the Flip the Script Academy at traveltransformationcoach.com/academy, where we teach you that life is short, so let's make sure it's nothing short of amazing. And now let's get back to the Travel Transformation Podcast.
Okay, this is a whole new world to me. I had no idea there were Facebook groups for this kind of thing. Like, no clue whatsoever. That's really cool. Yeah, so there's no money that changes hands. It's just you're sort of providing help with the crew stuff and everything, and in exchange you get the ride, or how does that work?
So money situation always depends on the boat, right? Usually, or in both of cases for myself, it was that we shared the food. So we made big shopping, and we shared the cost of food, and then we shared cost of marinas, I think. But it's not pricey, if marina cost maybe, let's say, I don't know, 40 euro a night. So if there are 4 people on the boat, you pay like 10 euro a night, and which is not that bad. And if you're on the ocean, obviously you don't pay anything. But yeah, but depends. So if with the experience you can get paid, and some people ask for like fixed contribution, let's say, I don't know, 20 euro, usually what they ask, so if you go for 10 days, it would cost you 200 euro. Always depends the agreement, but yeah, usually it's like this.
Yeah, that is a good value for money, definitely.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's incredible. Okay. So you mentioned before the people you help with your travel coaching, and obviously you know a lot about long-term travel. So if someone wanted to do something like this, like a long-term travel trip that they've never done before, how would you recommend they start either planning or budgeting for such a trip? And do you have any advice on how people can approach this if they have absolutely no idea where to start, which I think a lot of people don't?
So budgeting is obviously one of the main things, right? Because traveling can be expensive, but travel can be reasonably cheap as well. And many times it's cheaper than the main expenses what you have at home. So obviously one needs to consider if I have enough for just traveling, or if someone wants to work during the travel as well. So then the working holiday visa is a great option because it gives you opportunity to know the different culture, know the different country, and make some money, which is great. I think the main thing is the mindset, because I remember when I was in the high school, so we had the presentation and there was this guy and I was maybe, I don't know, 15, 16 years old, right? And he was saying, oh, I just traveled for 3 months in Canada with my family. And I was like, how is, it's impossible. And then over the years, I learned that it's possible, yeah. And with the budgeting, there are ways how to save money on accommodation, for example, with volunteering. There is very small couchsurfing, which is basically the rate of people they offer their houses for travelers, so we can stay for free, and it's a great way how to meet locals as well. So there are all these different tools, or let's say tricks, how to save money on the road. And the other thing is, from my experience, the world is way more friendly than we expect. People are usually way more friendly, way more helpful than we can even imagine and we even expect. So that's the fear factor, that maybe we go to not such a safe country. It's usually not that hot as it look like from in the TV or from the newspapers, right? Usually it's very, I don't know how's your experience, but
No, I totally agree with that. Obviously, the media and friends and family who might be worried for you going might say, like, well, it's dangerous and that kind of thing. And obviously, some places are. Like you say, most people that you meet will be so friendly and so helpful. And you meet those people far more than you meet anyone who is out to hurt you. So it's definitely a mindset thing. And like you say, the more you travel and the more people you meet who have done things like long-term travel, the more you see it is possible, like you said. And then they start thinking, actually, maybe I could do something like this. Whereas if you never put yourself out there and meet new people and see what they're doing, then it could seem like this unachievable goal. So yeah, things like travel coaching, and I think is so important to make people see that it actually is possible for them. So I just want to talk about COVID for a second, because obviously when all the lockdowns started happening, it was a huge blow for the travel industry. I believe you were in Panama at the time at the Tribal Gathering Festival when COVID hit. So what was that like? What happened?
yeah, it was crazy times for many people, I guess. I was in Panama in the time, so I was helping organize, and I worked in the festival called Tribal Gathering, which is a fusion of festival when people from different tribes and from indigenous communities come and share their knowledge and share the music, art, and then there is a kind of festival section as well where there's like electronic music going on, and yeah, it's all happening in the remote beach in Panama, beautiful Caribbean beach. And because it's remote, so there was not much reception, and the festival is long. I spent there like 5 weeks because I was involved in organization, but otherwise it lasts for maybe over 2 weeks, I think around 3 weeks, so it's kind of long, and it was just happening right in the moment when everything started to happen, right? So we've been in the festival, and then suddenly someone comes and says, "Hey, Italy just closed the border." And you're like, "What do you mean Italy just closed the border? How the country can close the border?" The next day, UK closed the border, and then all this started to happen. People start to freak out a little bit, leaving the site. And I was going to go back to Australia because this is where I lived at the time. But I didn't make it by one day because the Australian border, they closed as well. So I was in Panama in the airport, and with a couple of friends, we just decided to take the first flight to Mexico. We just made it. Panama closed the border, no one in, no one out. Yeah, it was a very crazy time. It was very difficult to make decision because every decision in that moment looked like a wrong decision. And yeah, I was in Mexico for a couple of weeks, and Mexico was pretty quiet, let's say. Nothing much was happening, and everything was kind of normal. I had this like weird feeling. I just didn't feel really well there and couldn't really rest. So one day I just decided to call the Czech embassy. I never did in my life. So I just called them and asked, "Hey, I'm just in Mexico, and do you have any information? Maybe they will close the country or something's happening." They said, "No, we don't have any information, but tonight there is a flight to Prague, straight flight, direct flight to Prague from Patrician, from Czech government. If you want, you can be on the flight." But you need to decide now. And I was like, wow. Everything in Europe was closed, the biggest lockdowns. It was like March 2020.
So you did fly to Prague then, and then you got there?
Yes, I flew to Prague, and I spent here like half a year. And it was the last time, it was 2022. It was the last time. Then I left again. And now it was like after 3 years, I came back.
That is quite the journey and quite the experience. I mean, obviously a lot of people had similar experiences, but yeah, I was just in the UK, and then the UK got shut down, and like I was already there. So like, were you panicking when you were trying to figure out where you're going, or were you more kind of like, "Oh, I'll just see what happens"?
Yeah, because in that time I had like my life was kind of in Australia, and yeah, I just couldn't go there, right? So it was like, wow, what I do? It felt good. Yeah. When I arrived here, I was like kind of happy to be here. I was able to spend some time with my parents here. But yeah, some people, they got stuck in Panama for months with no help from governments, with no information what's going to happen, for how long it's going to last. So it was definitely difficult and intense moments for my friends.
Yeah, scary times. So did you leave? Did you like leave any stuff in Australia, or did you have it all with you?
Yeah, everything there, because I was thinking I will be in a month.
So is it still there, or did you manage to go back?
Yeah, I managed to go back when they opened the border and sort everything out. And yeah, I left my car then and all my stuff. I literally went for holidays for 4 weeks to Panama, and I had a flight ticket back and everything. But
that's crazy. So talking about Australia and New Zealand, I believe you traveled around some of those countries in a van. And I know there are a lot of hashtag van lifers out there who love this kind of lifestyle. So I want to know, what do you prefer? Van life, boat life, Amazon life, or any other kind of travel you've done?
It's all very different. Actually, van life and boat life, it's not so different, right? Because boat is just the floating van.
True.
But yeah, I definitely enjoy van life a lot because it gives you great sense of, or at least give me great sense of like safety, and especially in the countries like Australia and New Zealand, they are very well prepared for van life. When we've got showers in pretty much every beach. There are showers. There are like hot plates, like grills, what you can use. Drinking water, toilets, all this stuff, which you don't really think about. But if you live in the van, you need to think about, right? So it's very, very easy to move around and very safe and very beautiful countries to see for like this, And yeah, with the boat, it's actually very similar. Yeah, with the boat, And I really recommend this way of travel, like especially in the van, over the staying in the hostels, the staying in the backpackers, because the sense of freedom and sense of like mostly the freedom is very, very different. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the idea that you can just wake up in the morning and just drive off somewhere completely different. And yeah, like you say, the sense of freedom. I've never done it, but I would like to. I think the freedom would feel amazing. Did you do it on your own, or were you with other people?
Sometimes on my own, sometimes with other friends. Sometimes we've been like a couple of vans together even, so just get a bit more people. And Often there are like free camps where people stay overnight. So where it's, you arrive there is a few more vans. So it's easy to make friends, and to talk to other people, to share tips and share stories again, or cook together dinner. Or if you want to be alone, you can just find your own spot and just really spend some time alone. So yeah, that's beautiful.
That's really good, because I think a lot of people, like solo travelers, might be put off the idea of van life if they're on their own because they think it might be too lonely. But like you say, there's places where you can go and like meet other people, mingle, be sociable, and then you can head off on your own when it's, when you want to. So I think that kind of sounds like the best of both worlds to me. So, okay. So when I asked about your favorite places in the world, you said Hawaii, Thailand, and Peru. So can you tell me why these 3 places are so special to you?
It was very difficult to pick a place.
I know, it's such a hard question.
And yeah, but Hawaii is just amazing. The energy of the place. You got the wild ocean, you got the volcanoes, you got, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And for me, it has like really special energy. So that was the reason for Hawaii. Peru, I was always attracted to South America and to indigenous cultures. And Peru has this spirit of indigenous cultures very rooted. If you go to the mountains in Cusco, there is many people, they speak Quechua, still keep the traditions. And so for me, it was like this, let's say, spiritual travel in Peru. And the same in the Amazon, the Amazon, the connection with the forest and the connection with the nature. So that's why. And Thailand, it's just very easy country to travel, very friendly. It's, good infrastructure, great food. And yeah, I spent there the last few months and yeah, I just really, really like it.
Yeah, me too. I love Thailand. Do you have any countries or places still on your travel bucket list that you've not yet made it to? Again, a hard question.
It would be Brazil, probably. Brazil, Nepal, and Mongolia.
Nice. Any plans to go there anytime soon, or are you more of a sort of I'll see what happens kind of person?
Hopefully Brazil, hopefully this winter, like European winter, so maybe by the end of the year. But yeah, let's see what happens.
And would you say you've learned any sort of big lessons from traveling or living in different places, either about the world or about traveling or about yourself? Like, what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned?
Oh yeah, it's a never-ending journey of self-discovery, right?
Yeah.
But I think the biggest power of traveling is that it gives you time. It gives you time to be on your own, especially if you do solo travel, even if you travel in a couple of friends, whatever. But it gives you this time to kind of reflect on your life and on your values, on your hobbies, and on your passions. And I think it's something which is very suppressed in today's society. And people, are kind of stressed, just like running around. And it's very difficult to find this time to reflect back and to see what we like, what we don't like, how we want to live, what kind of relationships we want to have in our lives. And even if you take 5 hours bus journey, it can be a great moment to maybe read a little bit of book or listen some podcasts and then just reflect on it, and this is the biggest gift what traveling can offer, I think. And it showed me as well that the place where I come from, it's a great place as well. So it showed me that there is not like a golden paradise, but every country has good stuff, bad stuff, everywhere are people, good people, some grumpy people, so it really gives you this opportunity to kind of be realistic, as well. And it's like, sometimes we complain, like, back home, it's always raining and it's cold, but we don't really appreciate what we have. And then we see like that there are people living in way more difficult conditions than we are. And so I think that's a very, very powerful reflection as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. It completely changes your perspective on yourself and where you live and the things you moan about. Like, yeah, definitely. I mean, Brits are, renowned for moaning about the weather. Like, but you're right, like go away and when you come back, then you can see things in a different light. And I think that is so worthwhile for anyone to do, definitely. Okay, so I have 2 last quick questions. The first one is, where can people find you online? And I'll put those links in the show notes. And the second one is there anything else you want to mention or talk about or promote before we go?
So they can find me on Facebook, Bohemians Adventure. And then there is Instagram, which is not so active. I just started with Instagram a few months ago. and it's bohemian.adventure.travel. And yeah, just if they have any question, feel free to reach out and send me a message. And yeah, I'm happy to chat always. And yeah, I think we covered everything what we wanted to cover. So I have no other things, no other questions. Thank you. It was great.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been a really interesting conversation hearing about all your travels. And now I know that you can do hitchhiking on boats. That's one big thing I've learned today. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Travel Transformation Podcast with me, Jessica Grace Coleman. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review and spread the word if you have friends or family who also want to transform through travel. For a chance of winning one of my books in ebook form, please review this podcast on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot or just your name to info@traveltransformationcoach.com or at traveltransformationcoach on Instagram. I'll be picking a new winner each month, and you can choose between any of my non-fiction titles, including Write Your Life, Write Your Year, and Intentional Travel Transformation. You can find out more about me at traveltransformationcoach.com, where you can also get your free travel transformation guide. And until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.